What are you doing here? Chioma hissed, her eyes flashing with fury. I don't invite you. Uzomma looked confused and hot, her hands trembling. But, Chioma, I came to see you get married. I came to bless you, my daughter. You have no place here, Chioma shouted, grabbing a glass of water from a nearby table and splashing it in her mother's face. Go away. You are not welcome there, ugly woman. I don't know you, and I don't want you to ruin my wedding. Chioma was a beautiful girl. From the moment she was born, everyone admired her lovely dark skin, her large shining eyes, and the perfect way her face seemed to glow whenever she smiled. People would often say, this child is too beautiful to belong to someone like Uzomma. Uzomma, Chioma's mother, was known in their small village for her appearance, but not in a good way. Her face was covered with deep wrinkles, even though she wasn't old. Her skin had rough patches, and her mouth seemed to be twisted in a permanent frown. Her eyes, once bright, were dull and tired from years of hardship. People whispered about her behind her back, calling her names like the ugly woman or the cursed one. As a child, Choma didn't see her mother the way others did. Uzoma was just her loving mother who cared for her, made sure she had food to eat, and gave her warm hugs at night. But as Choma grew older, she started to notice how different her mother looked from other women. At school, her classmates would laugh and point when Uzoma came to pick her up, calling her the monster or the witch. At first, Choma would run away from the teasing, hiding her face as tears burned in her eyes. But one day, as the teasing became unbearable, Choma snapped. She was about 10 years old when she first denied her mother in public. It was during a school parent meeting. Ozoma had come proudly, carrying a small basket of snacks to share with Choma's classmates. She walked with a smile, despite the stares and whispers. But Choma saw her coming from a distance, and her heart sank. Her friends would make fun of her again. She quickly ran to the other side of the playground, pretending not to know the woman who was waving at her. Chioma, Chioma, my daughter, Uzoma called out, her voice full of love. But Chioma didn't answer. Instead, she joined her classmates in mocking the ugly woman. Who is that strange woman? One of the boys asked, laughing. I don't know her, Chioma shouted. Her voice was shaking with anger and embarrassment. She is not my mother. My mother is beautiful. Not like that ugly thing. Ozoma's face fell, her smile fading as she overheard her daughter's harsh words. But she didn't say anything. She just turned and walked away, her head bowed in shame as the children continued to laugh and point. Shoma's heart was filled with both relief and guilt, but she pushed the guilt away. She couldn't afford to be embarrassed by her mother anymore. From that day on, Choma refuses to go anywhere with Uzoma. She refused to walk with her in public, refused to let her mother come to school functions, and refused to acknowledge her in front of her friends. Whenever someone asked about her family, Choma would lie and say her mother had passed away when she was a little girl. She started seeing Uzoma not as her mother, but as a curse, something ugly that was holding her back from being accepted by others. As the years passed, the rift between Choma and her mother grew deeper. Uzoma never stopped loving her daughter, but the pain of being rejected by the child she had raised and cared for weighed heavily on her heart. She never fought back or argued when Choma insulted her. She simply remained silent, hoping that one day her daughter would see beyond her face and remember the love they once shared. But Choma's heart had turned cold as she blossomed into a stunning young woman, admired by all for her beauty and intelligence. She became more determined to leave her mother and her past behind. She wanted to marry a wealthy man, someone who would elevate her status in society, and she couldn't let anyone know about the ugly woman she had grown up with. When Choma met Chinedu, a wealthy businessman from the city, she thought her dreams had come true. He was handsome, kind, and had more money than she had ever imagined. Chinedu fell deeply in love with Chioma. charmed by her beauty and grace. He proposed to her after only a few months of dating, and Chioma quickly accepted, eager to start a new life away from her village and her mother. Chioma told Chinedu that her mother had died when she was a little girl, and he never questioned it. He loved Chioma and wanted to make her happy, so he didn't dig into her past. As they planned their wedding, Chioma made sure to keep Uzomma out of the picture. She didn't invite her to the wedding, didn't mention her, and made sure no one from the village would bring her up in conversation. But Uzomma, despite being shunned by her daughter for many years, still loved her deeply. When she heard rumors about Chioma's upcoming wedding, her heart swelled with joy. She had longed to see her daughter happy, to watch her walk down the aisle and start a new life. So, even though she hadn't been invited, Uzoma decided to go to the wedding as a surprise. She wanted to see her daughter one last time, to wish her happiness and offer her blessings. On the day of the wedding, Uzoma dressed in her best clothes, a simple faded gown that she had worn to an important event in the past. Her heart filled with hope and excitement as she made her way to the grand wedding venue in the city. She walked quietly through the streets, unnoticed by the guests who were arriving in the fancy cars and beautiful outfits. When Uzoma reached the entrance of the venue, she saw Chioma standing with her bridesmaid, laughing and chatting, looking more beautiful than ever in her white wedding gown. Uzoma's heart soared with pride and love for her daughter. She began to walk towards her, her hands trembling with excitement. But when Chioma saw her mother approaching, her face twisted in horror and anger. She rushed toward Uzoma, her voice sharp and filled with disgust. "What are you doing here?" Chioma hissed, her eyes flashing with fury. "I don't invite you." Uzoma looked confused and hurt, her hands trembling. "But Chioma, I came to see you get married. I came to bless you, my daughter. You have no place here," Chioma shouted, grabbing a glass of water from a nearby table and splashing it in her mother's face. "Go away. You are not welcome there, ugly woman. I don't know you, and I don't want you to ruin my wedding." Uzoma stood frozen, the water dripping down her face as her heart shattered into a thousand pieces. The guests watched in shock as Chioma insulted and chased her mother away, their whispers filling the air with disbelief. Uzoma, humiliated and broken, turned and walked away, her steps slow and heavy with sorrow. As she left the venue, tears streaming down her wrinkled face, Uzoma whispered a curse under her breath. "Chioma, the child I carried in my womb for 9 months, you have denied me. May you never know the joy of carrying your own child. May your womb be barren, and may you suffer the pain you have caused me." That night, as the wedding celebration continued, Uzoma died of a heart attack, her heart unable to bear the weight of the pain and rejection she had endured. Chioma's wedding was the talk of the town for weeks. Everyone marveled at the grand celebration, the elegance of the venue, and of course, the beauty of the bride. Chioma's new life seemed perfect. Chinedu, her husband, adored her, and they settled into a luxurious home in the city. Chioma was finally living the life she had always dreamed of, far away from the memories of her village and the shadow of her mother. However, beneath the surface, something dark was brewing. After the excitement of the wedding settled, Chioma and Chinedu looked forward to starting a family. Chinedu often spoke of his desire for children, and Chioma too dreamed of holding her own baby in her arms, a perfect child to carry on the family name. They were both excited, planning for the future, imagining the laughter of children filling their home. Months passed, and Chioma still wasn't pregnant. At first, they thought it was just a matter of time, but as the months turned into a year, concern began to set in. Chinedu gently suggested that they visit a doctor to check if everything was alright. Chioma, though worried, agreed. The test came back normal. The doctor told them there was no medical reason why they couldn't have children. But despite that, Chioma still couldn't conceive. As the years went by, the joy in their home slowly faded. The pressure from Chinedu's family grew stronger as his parents began to subtly suggest that he might need to look somewhere else for a wife who could give him the children he deserved. Chioma was devastated. She couldn't understand why she, a woman who had always been so blessed with beauty and admiration, was now cursed with barrenness. She began to feel ashamed, hiding away from friends and family, avoiding social gatherings where people might ask her why she wasn't pregnant yet. She stopped going to church because the sight of other women with their children only deepened her pain. One night, as Choma lay in bed, unable to sleep, a strange thought came to her mind. She remembered her mother, Uzomma. The memory was a sharp pain in her chest. For years, Choma had pushed the thought of her mother away, convincing herself that she was better off without her. But now, she lay down in the dark. The memory of that terrible day at her wedding came rushing back. She remembered the anger in her mother's eyes as she chased her away, the sadness in her face as she turned and walked away from the venue. And then, Choma remembered the whisper. That was faint, but she could still hear it in her mind. Her mother's voice, cursing her, wishing her womb to be barren. Chioma's heart raced as she sat up in bed, her mind swelling with fear and regret. Could it be that her mother's curse was the reason she couldn't have children? Was it possible that Ozoma's pain had brought this terrible fate upon her? For the first time in years, Choma allowed herself to think about the way she had treated her mother. She remembered how she had denied Ozoma in public, how she had insulted her, mocked her, and refused to acknowledge her as her mother. The guilt that she had buried deep inside for so long began to rise to the surface, overwhelming her. The next morning, Choma decided to visit her old village. She hadn't been back since her wedding, and she wasn't sure what she would find. But she knew she had to go. If her mother was still alive, she needed to ask for forgiveness. She needed to find a way to lift the curse and heal the wound she had caused. As Choma arrived at the village, her heart pounded in her chest. The familiar sights and sounds of her childhood surrounded her, but it all felt distant and foreign. She had realized how much she had changed since leaving this place. She made her way to her mother's old house, hoping that Uzoma would still be there. But as she approached the small, run-down house, she noticed something strange. The door was slightly open, and there was no sign of life inside. Choma knocked on the door, her hands trembling. There was no answer. She pushed the door open and stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of her mother. But the house was empty, the furniture covered in dust. It looked like no one had lived there for months. A sinking feeling settled in Choma's stomach as she realized what might have happened. She rushed to a neighbor's house, an elderly woman who had known Uzoma for years. Auntie, please, do you know where my mother is? Choma asked, her voice shaking with fear. The old woman looked at Choma with a mixture of sadness and pity. Choma, my dear, your mother is gone. Choma felt the ground drop from beneath her. Gone? What do you mean, gone? She passed away, child, the woman said gently. Your mother died shortly after your wedding. It was a heart attack. I'm sorry. Choma's knees buckled and she collapsed to the ground, sobbing uncontrollable. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her mother was gone, and she had never had the chance to make things right. She had pushed her mother away for years, only to lose her forever. Through her tears, Choma managed to ask, Where is she buried? The old woman told her where Ozoma's grave was, and Choma her heart heavy with guilt and sorrow, made her way to the small village cemetery. The grave was simple, marked only by a wooden cross with her mother's name carved into it. Choma fell to her knees in front of the grave, her body shaking with sobs. Mama, I'm sorry, she whispered through her tears. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was ashamed. I was foolish. Please forgive me. She cried for what felt like hours, her tears soaking the dry earth beneath her. But no matter how much she wept, the guilt remained, heavy and unyielding. Chioma had hoped that by coming to her mother's grave and asking for forgiveness, she might feel some sense of relief. But instead, she felt more lost and hopeless than ever. As night began to fall, Chioma's tear finally slowed, and she sat in silence by her mother's grave, staring at the stars above. In the stillness, she thought of the man in white from her dream, the one who had told her that the only solution was to beg for her mother's forgiveness. But how could she ask for forgiveness from someone who was no longer alive? Shoma's mind was filled with questions, but the only answer she had was the cold, hard truth. Her mother was gone, and there was no way to undo the pain she had caused. The curse that her mother had placed on her seemed unbreakable. Do you think Choma's mother will finally forgive her? We will find out in the part 2 of this story. If you love the story, like, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out on the part 2. You will love it.